This is an after-school program podcast.
Welcome to the Home Studio Hangout podcast, where we explore what it's like building, running, and working out of a home studio with your hosts, Joshua Matotek, Andrew Simmons, and many guests in different areas of the music industry.
Welcome back to the Home Studio Hangout podcast with your hosts, Joshua and
Me.
We're here today with our friend Lee.
Hi.
And we're going to talk about things.
Bunch of stuff that I have a list for. Lee, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Glad to have you back. You texted me no lie, like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And was like, yo, when can I do that podcast again? I got some crap I want to talk about.
I don't even remember what I wanted to talk about.
The first thing on our list, hybrid mixing and outboard gear.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember.
Yeah. You specifically wanted to talk about outboard gear, I think.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that you also wanted, when in your like little pre-note thing, that you wanted to talk about some hybrid mixing. So, but what's been up with you since we talked last? Let's see. We've been down there twice since we talked last.
I mean, I've seen y'all like a couple times since then in real life. Just been the same old thing, writing, mixing, working with a bunch of people. I just got back from Portland. I went on vacation to Portland and Seattle for New Year's, and that was cool. Didn't get COVID there.
Heck yeah.
But
there.
Yeah. So it was cool. Been working on like creating a home mixing room so that I can kind of like do stuff not at the studio all the time. And maybe like be able to stay home with my dogs so they don't pee everywhere every day.
And also it'll free up the room a little bit too if other people need to use it. Because I know you've had that issues like with people coming in and out a lot. So
yeah, exactly. So I mean it's fine. It's no big deal.
I'm mostly just upset that my bedroom is being turned into a studio.
Josh's actual bedroom.
Well, we're moving soon, so.
Oh, are you? You getting another house?
March. Yeah, we're gonna move. We were gonna buy a house, but I think we're just gonna rent another house. So, trying to get something a little nicer with like a fenced-in backyard because we bought a horse of a dog.
Oh, yeah, a little more. Yeah, your yard is pretty small. Mm-hmm. At least your backyard is.
It's not fenced in either, so it's kind of just like it's a pain.
I feel that.
I was actually surprised
in our backyard.
Your backyard is actually way bigger than I thought. Like I remember I looked outside and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's a cute backyard."
It's big, and there's a fence on the back and the sides, just not a fence that connects to the house.
Yeah, and then after I had to walk a corgi out there for like 45 minutes, I was like, "Man, this is a big backyard."
Yeah, I mean it's a nice backyard. I like it. I just like wish I could open the door and let the dogs go out without having to go search for them later.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also, you had a song release today, right?
I didn't produce the song, but I had a video that I engineered and mixed.
That's what it was.
Yeah, the single itself came out, but we did like a live music video for it, and I engineered and mixed all that stuff. And
yeah, I listened to the live one.
2 songs, in that like on that day. And the other one, I don't know when the other one's going to come out, but honestly, I think I like the live one a lot.
Dude, the live one's sick.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
So all of that is live?
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah, it's crazy. I thought that you dubbed everything.
No, it's literally 100% live minus there's like some backtracks, but they're like tucked. The only thing that's really in the backtrack that's like obvious is the 808 and the little boop doop 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 doop.
Yeah. The little percussion thing. That's crazy. Yeah, you did a really good job at like making everything sound very isolated.
Thanks.
So
I actually mixed that on these while I was sick with a sinus infection on my laptop.
Because I was gonna ask you about that because I saw that you said that like you mixed it while you were sick, and I was gonna ask you how much it affected like you trying to mix.
Well, it was weird because that was the first thing I mixed on headphones in like 2 years, and it was also the first thing I'd ever mixed on my new laptop. So,
and it was on these headphones specifically, which are a little.
I started on M50s, and then I
Okay.
got these, and I adjusted on these, and then when I brought it to the studio, I think I did like a couple fader moves, just like, oh, that vocal's really loud or really quiet.
So I mix on these sometimes too. You know, just having people in the house, it's just a little easier to mix on headphones.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I my vocals tend to be a little more forward when I mix on these than when what they're supposed to be. So I do end up having to check them on my speakers. But honestly, these translate like pretty well.
They do. They translate better than the 770s for sure. They're just way louder on the outside. Like I could never track with these in the booth ever.
Oh yeah, these are super loud.
My biggest
these are
issue
up
with
and back.
headphones, I feel like it's really hard to get just like the initial balancing right on headphones.
What I did, to be honest, was I sat there and listened to a bunch of reference mixes before I started.
I do the same thing.
Just for the low end, because I knew I was going to overblow the low end, and I knew I was going to overblow the top end if I didn't listen to reference mixes.
Yeah, the top end on these are a little weird. They're a little like spiky and like they have a weird bump like right above 4K.
Yeah.
Which is really weird.
That's weird.
That's how my R70s are.
But no, that kit sounded surprisingly isolated to be live on
Yeah,
that video.
It's weird because like we had been recording all that stuff with the Allen and Heath SQ6. Like every live video we've ever done, unless it was in the live room, has been recorded with the SQ6. And I realized like when we did the Christmas videos, we used the SQ6. And I was like, I feel like every time I'm messing with this, that like the processing that I'm putting on these for the inner mixes is getting recorded into my computer. So I literally sat there and like played the tracks back and did a like high pass on one of them. And literally like the whole track just disappeared. And I was just like, I am recording processing, because it was the direct out from the board. And I was just like, why am I still getting processing into the computer?
And it was because where it was pulling from was probably a post
yeah, exactly.
mix.
So I had to switch it to the tie line recording. And ever since I switched it to the tie line recording, it's like night and day. Like it's so like, because I'm listening to it, you know what I mean? Like while we're recording it, and it like, I'm like, the balance is nice. Like I don't hear a bunch of bleed in the vocal. Like it's cool. Like I can tell that the vocal is like picking up a lot of the drum room, but it's not like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to like deal with this. But before it was like, I do not know how I'm going to deal with this, because I was recording compression and I was recording EQ and I was recording all these stuff on the vocal already. And then I'd be like, God, this is just so much. Like, I don't know what to do. And so I switched it to tie lines, and now literally I straight up just did a fader mix, and I was just like, it feels cool right now. So I just like went through and just gated the drums as best as I could. And then that's about that.
Nice. What, auto gate or hand gating?
I did the key spike trigger gating.
Oh yeah. The smart way.
Yeah, I don't like to do the auto gate thing. Especially with like Avante, because he's just like it just like, it never works. It sounds assy.
Well, and I'm sure it's like a little uneven the way that he plays, because like there's so much dynamic. Yeah, especially his snare hand specifically. Like you won't catch a lot of the ghosty notes and
and I feel like that's like where the feel comes from. So
especially in that kind of music.
So I wound up just like doing the gating, and then I don't think I compressed the vocal. If anything, I just like put Spectre on it or something.
Nice.
I think I probably used split EQ and just like carved out some of the low end.
They dropped that on YouTube too, right? Or was it only on Facebook?
Yeah, it's on YouTube too.
I'll link it just so people can go check it out and kind of see what we're talking about. Yeah. Because the mix is, I mean, like I legit thought that it was a studio, like he said, like a studio over just like playback like video.
Dude, no, it's like legitimately 100% real.
Also, his vocal sounds clean for a live.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought that you recorded everything live and then overdubbed the vocal.
That's what I used to have to do because
like
I didn't have an option.
Yeah, like I mean, mind you, I didn't listen on my monitors. I just heard it on my phone, but I really thought that he was on the 251. Like he sounds very present. It sounds very like
it's
warm,
literally
like,
just split EQ, low shelf, and then the transient thing on the top, and then I'm pretty sure I just put Spectre on it.
And it was just a 7. Was it? What mic was it?
It was I don't know. I think it's a it's like a silver capsule for the wireless. I don't know if it's the SC one or if it's the I think it's a KSM 9.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah,
So
that
those are
was
a little
really-
brighter anyway.
Yeah.
The KSM stuff is pretty bright. Very similar to like a
Yeah, I
more-
don't that's a newer capsule that we got for tour. Oh, hang on, sorry.
Bum, 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 ba-da-dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun.
Breeze FaceTiming me.
Oh.
That's a newer capsule we got for tour because like the old one just didn't like, it was way too boomy, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. It just like wasn't working out, and like the area where it like emphasized the vocal was like right there in that area where Jayden's vocal is already really kind of like harsh.
Mm-hmm.
So we switched it out for that, and it sounds way better.
Yeah, that's
like
clean,
1000%
dude. Yeah,
better.
you could do full like live pre-production for records on that too, and come
For
away with
sure.
incredible like production versions, and even use some of those in final mixes. I'm sure some of those tracks in
Yeah.
final mixes.
Absolutely. It honestly kind of blew my mind. But I was like, this is like really like kind of easy. To be fair, the other song that we did was way harder to mix, and I'm still probably going to wind up going back on it because it's like way more dancey feeling. Like the drums, like I straight sample replaced the drums on this one because it just didn't feel right with a real kit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
It's a little more. Is it a little more like EDM leaning as far as dancey, or like just tighter than the real
if you
kit was going to
listen-
be?
If you listen to that TikTok that Jayden put out recently, it's that song, that Love for a Minute
Oh, okay.
song.
Yeah.
So it was just weird, like to do with real drums.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that does make more sense. It feels more, not EDM, but like just electronic drum in nature.
Yeah,
More sampled
exactly.
drums.
Is that one of the dance ones that he played us in the car?
No, I don't think so.
All right, I'll have to check it out then.
Yeah, I watched the TikTok. It was sick. That's a dope song.
I'm so bad at TikTok, dude. I realized like I was like commenting and replying to people who like posted stuff like weeks ago. Like this is how often I'm on TikTok, Lee. I got on my For You page a video from you that you posted like over a month ago.
Oh my God.
That's how good I am at TikTok.
It's hard to tell when people post stuff though, because it doesn't
There's
tell
no
you.
Yeah, it doesn't just show up. You don't get a notification, hey, whoever just posted a new video.
Yeah.
And at the same, even still, like I don't think I'd want to get those notifications because some people be posting like 12 TikToks a day, and I don't want that.
Yeah, I ain't trying to play that game. Yeah, there's like Shama posts a lot, and he posts like once or twice a week. And I mean, granted, he did that for a year and jumped his follower count from like 40K to 100K in a year. So like, it's the consistency. It works for sure, but I ain't
It
trying
does
to do
work.
that.
And it's weird how it's just like randomly like just pops. Like
Yeah.
you could literally post like a TikTok twice, 3 times a day for like a year, and then next thing you know, one day one of them gets 1 million views, and you're just like one of the old ones. You're
Yeah.
just like, what?
There's my
The
my
algorithm
friend's-
makes no
my friend's
sense.
wife does effects makeup on TikTok. So she'll get a character and then basically do that character as makake on her face, like full.
Oh, wow.
It's really sick. I'll have to send
That's
you one.
wild.
Yeah, I'll have to send you one. Her stuff is crazy, but she's been doing it for a while. I mean, that junk's expensive, man, because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a lot of makeup.
Yeah.
And so she's been doing it for a long time, and then recently she had a couple pop off, and she jumped to like 500,000 like followers in like a couple months. It was wild.
It's so weird how that works. I literally don't know how to explain it at all.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that none of Breeze really popped off yet. Like
They're going there though. When we went to Portland, she had like 170 followers, and now she has like 500 something.
yeah,
Like in like a
she's-
week.
she's doing
crazy,
the
dude.
tattoo
Like,
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she, like I don't know, like she randomly just started making TikToks, and she was just really good at them off the rip, and I was like, all right, well,
yeah. She was like,
crazy.
"This sucks. This is hard." And I was just like, honestly, that first one you posted looked great. Like, what are you talking
Yeah, like
about?
it looks better than anything that like I tried to do.
It's
I was messaging you and Justin last night, and then I ended up not even doing what I was gonna try to do, and then I just like.
Yeah, I just make really bad
recording.
reaction videos.
Bro, some of them though, like actually have me sobbing. Like it's so funny. Why was that baby so big, dude? That baby must pay rent. Like
already, dude. Already, like you're gonna need that baby needs some food.
No, dude, I think that's the problem.
No, I think that's the next like star linebacker for the
bro. They're giving that
Patriots.
kid like performance enhancing drugs or something. Like that kid on steroids already.
R.I.P. that mom's womb.
I know, right? Jeez,
bro.
The what was I gonna say? The so have you dabbled some into the TikTok world? I haven't really seen much of your stuff.
I put a TikTok up of one of the YouTube videos that I did, like just a little clip, but I have to figure out how to like do audio based stuff on TikTok that isn't like cheesy, that like I would actually care to post.
I've seen a couple people do it, and none of it feels right.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to like be like, this is how to like. I just couldn't imagine being like, how to compress your vocal, and then like you know what I mean? Like
I hate that kind of stuff, dude, because like it's always just like this is the one way to do everything, and like
it's like so subjective for everything.
Yeah, it's like you can't condense like an entire philosophy into 3 minutes, let alone 60 seconds or 15 seconds. Like it's just stupid. Like I mean, I see a lot of people who do it pretty well. Like Alyssa Wilkins is one of them.
She's fantastic.
She was doing this really cool thing. One of the ones that blew up, actually, she got the stems to one of the 1975 songs and was just like picking them apart. And I was like, oh, that's sick. Like
that is cool.
There's a lot of stuff that you can do, but like, I really don't want to be known as the guy who just like gives like cool facts. You know what I mean?
That's how I am too.
Like if I blow up on TikTok, I want it to be because like I made something that's really good.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be just like that person who's like, check out, these ad libs in this Dua Lipa song. Like, I mean, more power to people who are doing that. Cause like, sure, I'm sure it's getting them work and whatever, but like,
that's why I decided to go straight to YouTube.
Right. Yeah. Like the amount of time that I would spend doing that, like I would rather make, an extra content. 30 beats in a week and sell them all. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, there's also this whole thing too, where it's like, I'm not trying to be a content creator, but I feel like for people to know who you are and for you to get the work that you want to get, you kind of have to be, which is annoying.
Yeah. I saw somebody post, was it Chelsea Cutler posted a thing about like content creation and like music getting out there and having to do a lot of work or something like that recently. And like, I get the side of it that's like, I shouldn't have to do this, right? Like I get that, that's fair, but that's the name of the game now.
For sure. It's I think the people that feel it the most are the people that are on like labels like that tell you like, hey, like we're not going to put money behind this song unless you post a TikTok with it and it gets 2 million views. Then we see that it actually can pop off, and then we'll give you money to like make a music video and put it out. It's like, that sucks. Like like why are you not posting TikToks? Like I don't want to post TikToks. I'm here to do music. I'm not here to like make stupid videos for like a bunch of ADHD kids to look at for 10 seconds. Like that's not why I'm here. So I feel like I definitely feel those people more than like what like we would go through.
Yeah. For sure. Well, and on top of that, I find myself not really looking at TikTok or Instagram Reels as much anymore. I'm like all in on some YouTube space nowadays, man.
Oh, dude, I watch YouTube religiously. Like I get to work early. Like I'll get to the studio super early and literally just watch YouTube while I like pull up all the stuff I have to do today. I'll like watch a video. I'll check to see if like something cool happened or like some kind of cool like tech news or like is there like some new like plugin tool that I might want to like demo or like
I noticed
You know?
that about you. Like we would be getting ready in the morning and like you'd be watching YouTube and then like we get to the studio and as we're setting up like you were constantly like learning and like I'm just not like that. Like I rarely scroll through my Instagram feed. I'll check all my Instagram stories when I'm bored and that's it. Like I said, like I barely go on TikTok.
Yeah.
I rarely go on YouTube, and when I do, like it's typically to watch like Chris Ramsey, that magic guy who solves puzzles, dude. I love him so much.
I'm like a sponge. Like I just like to learn all the time. Like I was awful at it in school, but like if it's stuff I care about, like dude, I just want to absorb information.
The same thing, bro. If it's like schoolwork and I don't care about, like I can't be bothered.
Yeah, I could care less.
Well, also like I'm kind of in this cool place where like, you know, I talk to like you guys like every day. And then I have the group chat where there's a bunch of people like sharing stuff that they're learning all the time. So like I feel like I'm still learning a lot, especially like with the Matt Rad Discord. Like I feel like I'm learning constantly.
You guys enlighten me with that. I listen to that religiously.
It's a crazy cool podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's really good.
And like
it's really good.
Just hearing. Eventually, you're gonna probably everybody asks kind of similar questions, and like everybody seems like they're in a very around the same range, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's not like true beginners. It's like at least intermediate base level,
for sure.
That are asking all the questions, and they all like it's all questions that I would want to know. So it's all good information to me.
I agree. It does seem like at a certain point I'm starting to get like I do feel like they oversaturate me with the same information sometimes, but that's not necessarily their fault. It's just the people on there asking the same questions.
Yeah. And they do try to bring on different people to kind of eliminate some of that.
The recent one with Spider and Rory was like really enlightening. Like it made me want to move my whole desk forward against the wall.
It made me start making plans to like set up my room.
Yeah,
I got to figure out how to get.
I didn't watch that one.
Here now.
I honestly haven't watched any of those in a minute. I want to catch the one that he just did with Baines.
Yeah, I haven't listened to that one yet.
I listened to it yesterday. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
Baines I always enjoyed the Baines ones and the Tizia ones.
I'm weird, dude. I listen to podcasts when I'm in the car more than I listen to music. Like I literally don't listen to music unless
I'm not gonna lie.
Old.
The only podcast I listen to is the Tiny Beat Gang podcast. I love Cody Ko and Noel Miller. Like they're just hilarious. They brighten my day. And like, so I'll listen to that. I don't listen to our own podcast. I don't think I could deal with listening to my voice that long.
I hate hearing my own voice.
I love listening to podcasts. Dude, I listen to what all are you listening to and watching on YouTube? So
dude, I listen to. So I'm like, that's hard, dude. Like it's really hard. I like taking a lot of information about a lot of things that aren't music related too. Like I'm like really into rockets. Like really into rockets. I really love rockets. I know more about rockets than most people would ever know about rockets by watching YouTube. Straight up. It's like not tight.
That was another thing when we were in LA and that rocket launched. I've never seen someone so excited in my life. I would swear to you that you were a toddler on Christmas Day.
Dude, I love space. Space is so sick.
And then he was like, now wait for it. This is going to happen. And then it would happen. And I was like, how do you know all this? Bro?
Dude, it's crazy. Like, I'm like way too into it. Like I literally check the updates from NASA spaceflight on what's going on in Boca Chica with the Starship every day.
That's awesome. Hey man, gotta have your hobbies, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll never build a rocket or fly on a rocket, but it's interesting to me. I just want I don't know why it's so cool. Like technology is just crazy. Well, I want to see us become a civilization where we don't all try to kill each other and we're going other places. Yeah.
Well, I mean, space seems kind of like the answer to a lot of issues of that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah. And I watch like a lot of like random like Tesla updates because like I'll come out to my car one morning and my car will be like completely different and I'm like, what is going on?
Dude, that has to be the wildest thing in the world.
One came out for Christmas, dude, and it literally changed the entire operating system and I was just like, I don't know how to move my seat.
That's crazy.
Like, I literally do, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. How do I get to the radio? Like, how do I get to Spotify?
Oh my gosh.
I was so confused. It was like a totally new operating system. I was like, I don't know. I literally had to get on YouTube to figure out how to use it.
That's crazy. I can't even imagine. That's so weird. So well then what podcast do you normally listen to while you're driving?
I listen to like Live with Matt Rad. Sometimes I listen to the URM podcast, but
that's guest dependent for me.
Yeah, 1000%. And to be honest, like it's also dependent on if I feel like listening to A.L. Levy talk or not.
Yeah.
I can't stand that guy.
I listen to him talk way too much already, so his voice grates on me now.
I listened to that podcast once, and it was Seth's episode.
Yeah, it's there. Sometimes there's people on there where I'm like, oh, this is genuinely interesting, and like I can deal with AL's personality. But like, if it's someone that I just kind of care about, like I literally can't deal with it. Like,
yeah, I think the last one I listened to was Halpern's episode during quarantine.
I listened to Will Yips a couple.
He has a podcast. I'll listen to that.
Yeah, I'm listening to that for sure.
Yeah,
he
I
never
want to
does
listen to Will
podcast
Yip.
episodes.
Yeah, that one was really cool. I've listened to that Conversations podcast a fair bit too when they were doing that. But it's like really like kind of like one of those things. Like it's good, but it's also one of those things that you just kind of got to be in the mood to listen to.
It's a little dense.
Yeah, it's got a lot of like philosophical. It's a philosophical podcast with audio engineering undertones.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Yeah.
But
it's cool and
then
that's
I listen
another dependent on who's on it. Like listening to Tony's episode on that was super cool.
Yeah, that was cool for sure. I also listen to a lot of like weird murder mystery podcasts and like conspiracy podcasts if I'm just like super bored.
Bro, I'm on D&D podcast. That's what you need to listen to, Doug.
I don't D&D.
I know but you need to listen to the podcast because
I don't think I would understand.
It's basically just storytelling. The good ones are basically just storytelling.
Oh, okay.
Nope, you can't
Josh
convince me,
says
dude.
no.
I play D&D. I'm not listening to a podcast, bro. Once a week is enough. My ADHD is so bad that by the end of the session, like literally every week, I wait for the recap of what happened last week so I could take notes because I had no clue what happened, even though I played the whole game. Like that's how ADHD I am right now.
That's good. That's for playing online too. Like playing online.
Oh yeah,
really
playing online is very hard. Like
it's very
the
hard.
MKBHD podcast is really good too.
Dude, I watch him to death on YouTube.
I do too.
What'd you say?
The MKBHD.
Oh yeah, I love that guy.
Marquez Brownlee.
Dude. Yeah,
his videos and his podcasts are really good. And dude, okay, here's a weird one. I love watching Doug DeMuro,
I don't know who that is.
the car review guy.
Is that the guy that we watched together when we were eating chicken that one day?
Yeah, dude, I love watching his videos. He's so goofy, but
he's
like
so weird looking.
He's so
sometimes
knowledgeable.
it's cool to see like all the stuff that's in these crazy cars that you'll never drive.
Yeah, he is super knowledgeable.
Like, bro, out of all those car reviewers, like he gets some of the wilder pieces, you know?
Yeah,
like,
dude.
Like I don't understand how he does it or like how he sources
I don't
it.
either.
Or like
no idea.
And like he has the track record where people are like, yes, I want you to review this one of a kind vehicle that's worth $500,000.
More
and like
than
you're gonna drive
like
it down the road.
$20 million vehicles,
Yeah,
bro.
some of
Like
them are.
it's actually absurd. Like I mean, sure, he's quirky or whatever, but like the amount of knowledge that dude had, like when we were watching him do that the one Mercedes, it was one of the Bond cars.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
he was
yeah,
able to
yeah.
explain like
With
most people
with the
don't know.
wings, the wing doors.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like he knew what the instrument cluster did, even though like none of it's labeled and like there's no literature on it.
He's like,
and
this
then,
is actually for the windshield wipers.
Then he would be like, well, the reason behind this is because in the previous design, and I was like, what? Like,
Dude,
not
it's
only does he know
crazy.
this car, he knows what led up to this car. Like, that dude is a freak of nature.
And then what
like,
that car turned into.
Yeah,
It's nuts.
Yeah.
He's
And
literally like we are with audio stuff,
Yeah.
but with cars.
It's crazy.
It's like those guys who can like give you the whole lineage of the 1073, and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
care.
and there's, I mean, I
just don't.
think it's just it's more of a thing of like I enjoy people that super enjoy a thing and that are super knowledgeable about a thing.
I feel that.
Kind of regardless of what it is. Like if they are super stoked on something and they know a ton about it, I'm here for it. There's a doc on Netflix called Jiro Dreams of Sushi, and it's about like one of the oldest sushi chefs in Japan.
Oh,
yeah.
whoa.
I need to watch that.
Yeah, dude.
That sounds crazy.
I know Josh
sushi.
will enjoy it because sushi in Japan and culture.
Yeah.
But it's cool because he is known as one of the best sushi chefs in the world.
That's
And
nuts.
So like hearing how he talks about choosing fish, how he talks about his process, how he talks about all that. It's
That's
very
crazy.
It kind of correlates a lot to like doing any kind of creative work and taking pride in what you do.
Oh yeah. Well, cooking. I always equated cooking to being very, very similar to audio.
I did too, because you're like following the steps, you're making it be what it's supposed to be, you're analyzing the situation, and you're reacting depending on the situation that you're given.
Exactly. Like I have this theory that a lot of people who are into like the production side of music, like we're all like very like technically brained in like the sense that like it all comes back to puzzle solving, right?
1000%.
Like I could guarantee you
1000%.
that we could all sit down and like solve some kind of a puzzle. Like that's why I like watching Chris Ramsey's videos, you know? And like that's something that would hold our interest, you know? And that's all cooking is. You know?
Yep.
Well, it's why a lot of studio guys get into like coffee like I do. You know what I mean?
It's the
like
same thing because it's a
very
puzzle.
similar.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I 100%. And
Speaking
so
of
like
coffee, when I was in this total side note, when I was in Portland, I found the Nespresso store, and I finally got to get pods for my Nespresso. And it's been the best thing that I've ever been able to
Heck yeah.
experience, because I haven't been able to get them. Like literally,
Oh,
like
really?
I can only find the Starbucks ones, and there's just 2 of them, and they're like kind of But I got like 5 sleeves of Nespresso pods, and every morning has just been like the best.
that's sick.
Homie has to fly all the way to the other side of the freaking country. To
I didn't
get
know
his
they had a
espresso pod.
Nespresso. I also found a Carhartt store.
Yeah,
I didn't know that existed, and Carhartt store is like so sick.
Oh yeah.
Is he an art major or is he in a trade?
Yeah.
Dude, I found like 4 jackets, and I was like, I'm about to spend $500, and Bree was like, pick one. I was like, oh,
No.
you're probably
But you
right.
but you got yourself one?
Yeah, I got one.
Heck
Bro,
yeah.
that's how I am with
I
with
had
All
to.
Saints.
It was so cold.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Dude, I found out that there's actually like an All Saints store. I think it's on that street with all the vintage shops in LA. And so
Melrose.
I'm gonna have to save up money and just spend it all there, and then bring a
RIP.
separate carry-on so I could take it all home.
Hey everyone, I wanted to tell you about a great company called That Pitch. Have you ever had some leftover song ideas you just didn't know what to do with? Or maybe you needed to flex that writing muscle, but you still need to get paid? Enter That Pitch, a sync licensing company that pitches your productions directly to their exclusive list of clients. That Pitch has already paid out over $120,000 to its members since October of 2020. They provide production advice, business training, and other resources to make your songs better. Go to thatpitch.com to sign up and use the code HANGOUT for 20% off your monthly or yearly subscription.
To circle back to like YouTube and content stuff, what kind of I know you said you're super into watching YouTube videos. Is that kind of what and like making yourself known as a guy that knows what he's talking about in the audio kind of, is that what kind of like brought you to like, I want to make some YouTube videos?
Yeah. Well, I always like would watch. That's how I learned how to do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't like go to school. I didn't like go to school to do this. I didn't like really have a real mentor or anything. Like I just taught myself by being on the internet. So I feel like it's only right for me to like, while I'm trying to accomplish one thing, at least be able to offer knowledge to people so they can be like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. And if they like happen to watch my video and check out my website and be like, oh, like he's actually done cool stuff, maybe I should hit this guy. Because I've said this before, I want to just be a mix engineer. I like writing songs and I like producing songs, but I would much rather have a set of really dope speakers and a really great converter and a computer and literally just mix. Like, that's all I really want to do. Like, if I could do like 3 mixes a week and pay my bills off that and be set, I would be so stoked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I totally get that.
So I really just want to get my name out there more as like a person that knows what he's doing.
Because I know I actually have to talk to you about that. Because I have a rock record I'm doing right now, and they want like we're gonna have someone else mix it. I was like, honestly, you should probably just have a lead do it.
Yeah.
Hi. That'd be sick.
But yeah, I don't know. I think there's like you said, there's the new way of getting your name out there is content creation in its basis form.
Yeah.
But also I'm not going to say it's easy necessarily. Like
it's not
necessarily easy, but it is in the grand scheme of things kind of low effort.
It's just about taking the time to do it.
Exactly.
You know
it's
what I
about
mean?
time. It's not like it's about time and effort. It's not necessarily about crazy amounts of knowledge.
For sure. I mean, there's always little things that you can like impart that like maybe you're like one of the only people that does that. But like, to be fair, most of the stuff that I do is like a culmination of like 40 other people that I've watched do it. And just me experimenting with like certain other people's techniques until I've found a system that like works for me in any given situation.
No, that makes sense. And you just being one of those guys that imparts a new way of thinking about a topic.
Exactly. Yeah.
But on top of that, it almost is kind of like giving back to
like my
the
roots
world.
of like,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I wouldn't be here right now today if YouTube didn't exist, or like the Ultimate Metal Forum. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be here without that.
Chango.
Yeah.
Not Chango.
What's the
I don't think I learned a single thing on there, man.
So you have 2 videos out right now. The first one is
just like mixing drums.
No samples.
Yeah, sample free. And then the other one is like how to actually add samples and like a little bit of a recap, because I forgot to do something on the first video with like one of the room mics, so I like went in and did that. And then the next one I'm putting out is like a mix template video, but I mix a song in it like really quick that was like kind of already mixed. So it's like one of the like old Justin songs that he'll probably never put out, but it's just really simple, easy. I did it in like 40 minutes, but just to show like how you can have a template for a mix that'll literally work with like anything.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool.
There's no like, I don't think people need to have, if you have a template that'll work for anything, you don't need to be like, let me open my rock template. Like, let me open my hip hop template. Like, literally, you can just open your template and it'll work for everything, for tracking, mixing, whatever, if you just set it up right.
I also feel like nowadays, a lot of those moves are becoming more of the same.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, a lot of vocals sound kind of the same. Like, they want the same things for the most part. You're just like dialing in distortion levels essentially.
Yeah, or like the overall level. Like in rock and metal, people want the vocal lower for some reason than
buried a little more.
Pop and hip hop.
My mix template is I have all my vocal stems set up for like the main, background, harmony, all that stuff. And then I have groups for all those. And then other than that, I just have folders. And then I have 2 other groups. One is for strings, one is for synths. And that's
I have 2 folders. I have the instrumental folder and the vocal folder, and I never close them.
Yeah, I don't have anything on it anymore. I have my master chain loaded up, and I have nothing else loaded up now.
The most frustrating thing ever is when people over folder their sessions. Have you ever dealt with that?
Well,
like,
I'll get
like mixed sessions from people that work on Cubase that literally like, they'll be like, it'll be like instrumental, and then it'll be like drums, and then it'll be like kicks, and then it'll be like guitars, rhythm guitar 1, Rhythm guitar too. It's like, bro, you really don't got to folder all that shit. Like,
No.
for real, like you really don't got to do that.
Guitars, and then all
And
the
then
guitars.
they send it off and they just close all the folders. So you're like sitting there working on it. You're like, why am I hearing stuff? It's like, oh, it's in that closed folder that I like didn't open. That was like 5 tiers down from the main one.
I don't even close my folders in Cubase. I actually only use them so I have a color coding reference. That way, because like whenever I'm importing stems, like I don't bother taking the time to color code everything. So then that way I'm able to just see purple. That's drums, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in Pro Tools, it's basically the same thing. I have it set up the exact same way, and then I use the routing folders on there. So if I do want to bust stuff, then I can just select them all.
Yep.
That's one thing I wish
that
Cubase
folder.
had was like the whole like Logic Pro Tools like folder group function.
That's how Reaper is. That's
I
how
love it.
Ableton is.
Yeah, Ableton's the same way. I love it so much, dude.
To be honest with you, I really don't care. Like,
It's not like I'm living without it and just pissed off because I don't have it.
It is nice for if you have your template and then you did a different move somewhere. Just being able to import session data and then grab the bus and then it and then just replace existing plugins and just So that's kind of nice.
I like Pro Tools though because like it doesn't force you to route through that folder. Which is really,
I
really
agree.
nice.
To
And
be
it
honest,
doesn't do it
like,
by default.
The only thing that I complain about every day with Cubase is not being able to turn a mono track into a stereo track without making a new track.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I have to complain about Cubase as well.
That's the most annoying thing.
Especially now that I set up all my stuff. Like my big thing before was just like zooming, and then I realized there's an adapt grid to zoom, and then I routed triplet toggle to Y, and now it works exactly how I edit in Ableton. So
yeah.
And
I
Ableton,
just feel like I'm super fast.
There's just audio track. There's no stereo or mono.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice and also confusing if you don't realize that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's how it is in at like every other DAW, really. Even in Logic, you can click the little 2 circles or the 1 circle and switch it. Or you in Pro Tools, you can put a mono to stereo plugin on something.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty simple.
They finally announced that Cubase 12 is going to have the like their in-house licensing thing, so you don't have to
I heard
use the
about that.
licenser. So I'm hoping they add in the mono to stereo conversion too, because I'm
I
definitely
bet they
buying
won't.
that. I'm so tired of having. I'm so tired of having to use another USB port. Like if I want to use like my wired mouse, I have to like put a dongle into my dongle.
They're gonna literally be like, "Hey, now you don't have to use a dongle, but it's the same thing." And oh, by the way, we added a different sampler feature. And
to be
now
fair,
you can
Cubase
color code.
sampler is so sick.
Yeah. Oh, now the mixer looks a little different. Too bad you got to make a new track when you want to use a stereo file.
You can't just throw a utility plugin on it.
No, dude. It's frustrating because you'll go to drop files into a session, and then it'll be a guitar that's mono, and you're like, oh, I want to spread it out. Let me add a reverb to it or a delay or like micro shift or something. And it's like you put it on there and it just sounds like phase. You're like, what the hell?
That's why I don't use mono tracks ever.
I don't either, but I always drag in. So if the track inherently is a mono track, it creates a mono track.
Yeah, like I use like that's why I only have my vocals bust out like that, because I know more than likely I'm only gonna get mono tracks for my vocals, and then if they aren't, then I'll either just convert the tracks or I'll just split the audio left, right, and delete one side, and then just make it twice as loud.
Yeah, I even in my template I record mono signals onto stereo tracks.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I know people that do that, but they do that for like guitar DIs. So
I do that for my vocals.
Oh yeah, I saw that you were doing that.
Yeah.
When we were there and Justin was tracking, you do like a heavier compressed version and then like a no compressed version.
Yeah, like the left side is just the preamp, the mic to preamp, and then the right side is mic preamp compression. And then I use like a Stereo Tools plugin to select the compressed one.
That's really cool.
If I over compressed or something, I can always go back.
Yeah. Well, like, and like what he's also talking about though is like whenever, like in Cubase, you could have a stereo track and just have one input, So whenever I record a vocal, it looks like a mono file. It's not showing it, have you ever had a stereo track and you accidentally record both of your inputs and then your vocals only on the left side?
Yeah.
That's not how it is in Cubase. Like it shows up as a mono track. So sometimes I even forget about the whole mono thing because I just always have, like, if I open up my add audio track, it's just always set to stereo.
Yeah. But honestly, like what I was just talking about with the vocal kind of goes into like something that I did want to talk about with like the whole like outboard gear versus plug-in thing.
Yeah. And like the hybrid setup stuff too. We can also dip on hybrid setup in that conversation as well.
Yeah. Because I think that like I may have talked to you guys about this before, but I feel like, you know, like how when you record, like when you're listening to audio through the console on the Apollo or whatever, and you put a plug-in on it and it sounds better than when you record it because it's actually working at a way higher sample rate inside the Apollo than what it is.
It's working at like a 96K sample rate or something like that.
I think it's higher than that.
Is it really?
I think it's
It is
like
higher
3
than
something.
Yeah, it's something stupid. There's Ryan has a whole shtick with this on how to like route it so you could do all your processing and record your processed vocal and then your dry vocal, kind of like what you do but with console.
That kind of gets back into the whole thing where it's like say I'm mixing a song, right, that I didn't track. I would not sit there and run those vocals that are dry through my compression chain. Like I would never do that. Like I've experimented with it. I've tried so hard to like be like, oh, like I'm gonna take these vocals and like just run them through my normal chain and then it'll sound right. And it just doesn't sound the same. Even if someone recorded on a 251 exactly the same with a 1073 and I run it through my compression, if it's at 44.1 and I'm running a 44.1 audio file through my compressors and then recording it back in at a 44.1 sample rate, it doesn't. I might as well just put a plug-in on it. Straight up, like
especially if it's a 44.1 specifically, because like it's already set at that sample rate. Anything above that sample rate is gone at that point.
Yeah, I mean, even like if it was 96K, like I don't know, it's there's a giant difference in the vocal all analog coming in, hitting your preamp, going straight to your compressor, and then recording that in versus me recording just the dry preamp and then putting my compressors on as a hardware insert. Like it does not sound as good. It's literally like a waste of time. Or me sitting there reamping my vocals through my compression chain is literally a waste of time. It sounds better to just put a plug-in on it than it does to like try to do that. It's like so unnecessary. The only time that it really mattered that in hybrid mixing where I ever actually do anything like that and like send it out where I feel like it makes a difference is when I'm hitting something tube.
Yeah, that's really all it is. I mean, even John Castelli was talking about that. Like he went through his whole like vocal mixing process, right? So he gets the vocal, he clip gains everything to make sure it's as even as possible. Then he'll EQ, and I think he DS's at this stage if it's needed. If not,
I think he does first stage. I think he does multi-stage de-essing. This is like first very, very light stage de-essing.
Yeah, it just, I mean, it all depends on the vocal. Like there's times
sure.
whenever he doesn't even need to do anything. But he literally runs it through his Unfairchild. And it's not even it's to kind of get some of the peaks, but like he's probably only running like
just
1 to
for
3
the
dB
tubes.
a game reduction.
Straight up just for tubes.
It's just for tubes, and that's
the
it.
same thing that I basically do. Literally, like I run the vocals through the VTC, and I can put it in and get 0 compression, and it just sounds more forward because it's hitting.
I mean,
tubes.
that's what we were talking about. I think on FaceTime yesterday.
Yeah,
where you literally said, well, yeah, I mean, like Fairchilds are cool, but like you put anything through 24 tubes, of course it's gonna sound good.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, it's true.
It's just gonna sound.
That's
better.
why I use the stay level when I'm at the studio. I thought that what I liked was the compression on it. What I actually like is the tube.
Yeah, for real. Like even with my outboard Pultec, it's really not that. It's not a real Pultec. It's not, $8,000 worth of 2 mono Pultecs sitting here, but it has tubes. And when I put a Pultec plug-in on my mix bus, it's close. Even if I use like the Ruby 2, like the Acoustica Ruby 2, it sounds really good. Like it sounds better than any other Pultec, but it doesn't sound like this because this has tubes. Literally, that's like the thing. Like it just does so. It's weird. Can't describe it any other way.
It's wild that theoretically, if especially if you were just getting started, you could find something cheaper with good tubes and only use it for the tube sound, and it'll automatically make everything just a little bit better and a little bit cleaner.
Or by Tube, by Good Hertz.
What's that?
It's the only plugin that I've ever seen or used that actually sounds like 90% like a real tube.
Really?
Like it's like tube and tape. But say I'm like for that video we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
That I mixed, I didn't use any of my outboard gear because I mixed it on my laptop at home. And instead of using my outboard Pultec with tubes, I put the Ruby 2 on, and then I put tube, and I put it in the 12AX7 mode, and because that's what my Pultec has. And then I just drove it just a little bit. I turned the tape off, and it sounded almost identical to this Pultec.
That's wild.
Same with the vocal bus. I think I didn't have my VTC to run the vocals through, so I'm pretty sure I just did EQ, de-essing, a little bit of spectral shaper, and then tube, because I don't even actually hit the compression on this, and then Spectre.
Yo, my big thing lately, like talking about software that sounds similar to the hardware, is so like I typically run a Heritage Audio 1073, which is pretty cool because it's not like super overhyped or anything like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people say it sounds pretty similar to the Neve. I haven't been able to A/B them, but regardless, so I always have the Neve preamp. That's what it's called on the UAD site that I record into. And then I'll run it through the 80 channel from Plugin Alliance.
Yeah.
And it literally sounds identical.
The 80 channel's cool. The Lindo one.
Yeah, it's like one of the few plugins I can't live without right now from them. That and then the Shadow Hills compressor. I just need to go ahead and buy both of those, and then I'll be set. You know.
Have do you have the Mega Bundle?
Yeah.
Have you messed with that new 902 de-esser?
No.
It's so sick.
I'm about to.
It's really good.
We love a good de-esser.
Weiss too.
I was doing like my normal like vocal chain after I've like recorded it in through all my compression and everything is just split or the Stereo Tools plugin, and then split EQ, and then I was doing Pro DS in the solo mode, like the single vocal mode, just to grab the top, and then I have like an overall de-esser with Weiss de-esser on the bus, but I started using the 902 and I have to use the Weiss de-esser like way less because it just grabs exactly what I want.
I don't like the Weiss de-esser on vocals. I really like it on master. I mean, that's what it's meant for. But it gives this weird like chalky sound to vocals that I really hate. So like I feel like staying on.
There's a thing like with the threshold of it, like the range. If you have the range any more than like that much, when you come down on it, it sounds bad. Yeah,
and like I just really, it's just not my thing. Yeah. I really like the Hofa.
I've never messed with that one.
It's the best de-esser, I swear.
Is it the one that Seth swears by?
Yeah, and Moshe.
You've got to try that Lindell one though. It's sick. It's really sick. There's
now.
Also a really cool trick you can do with that de-esser where you can switch it to high frequency only mode and clamp down on it. And if you have like a bunch of bleed in like your snare top mic or something, you can literally use it to cut out all the bleed. And then when the snare hits, it just opens up. It's really sick.
Yeah,
it's like an old school trick.
So this has like the mosquito frequency band and then like the actual DS band, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically like the Weiss. This is probably what I'm looking for then, because I wanted something that would get those high end frequencies, which I will use Weiss for sometimes. But
I know that Baines uses. He mentioned it in his newest podcast on Live with Matt Rad. He uses normally the C800 to a 1073 to a real 902 and then a CL1B. So he records that he records the de-essing on the way in, which I would never do. That would scare the shit out of me.
He's a brave man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you listen to his tracks though. He's not hitting that hard.
Yeah, he can't be.
No,
there's no way. It's more of like a safe thing.
I feel like I would
stage touch.
mess up takes though. I feel like I'd be like, "Oh, that was good," but like my de-esser hit a little too hard.
Who makes the 902? Is that DBX?
Yeah, it's a DBX 902.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. You could get one used for $550 on eBay right now. I'm about to cop.
Goldman used to have a few of those, and he actually he's the one that told me about the whole snare top thing.
Yeah, he mentioned that whenever we were there tracking drums for something.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it was still was it at the big room? Was it in Glow 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Then that he mentioned that there. Because I think it went up to Jellicoe with
probably
with all the other stuff, with the purple and all that.
Yeah.
Which I think it came back because now he's back at the first spot.
He was, but now he's not anymore. I don't know where he is.
Oh, he's not there
honest.
anymore?
Mm-mm.
Man, that was short-lived.
I just had a guy hit me up today that was like, "Hey, I hit up Goldman about doing a song, and he referred me to you." And I was just like, "Okay, I mean, I'm
dope.
Do it."
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So,
Goldman referral.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's tight.
Yeah.
I feel like that tube emulation plugin you were talking about would also be super helpful in a live scenario, like when you're doing live mixing. And
could be. Yeah. It's cool, dude. It's worth a demo if you haven't tried it.
Yeah.
It's really sick. And
what's it called again?
Tupe, like Tupe by
Okay.
Goodhertz.
Okay.
And it does tape really well too. To be honest, like most
Is it like
of the
a good master bus kind of thing potentially? Like tape
could.
wise? Like if I'm doing lo-fi.
Oh, for sure, but it's not. So it's not the warble of tape.
Well, that's
it's
not what
none
I'm
of
looking
the,
for.
Yeah, it's
more
literally
like the saturation.
That's what it is.
Well,
Yeah.
also, mind you, it does a really good job at replicating the compression that you get from tubes and tape.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put it on the master, honestly.
You could. I have.
I do
really
sometimes.
good on
I love
everything, though.
I love a good tape emulation on a master bus, specifically for lo-fi hip hop though. Like it doesn't really work on a lot of things, but I know it works for that because you can just put a little bit on it and it kind of degrades everything just a little bit.
I used to have like the Slate VTM on my masters for like years, and I swore it made the biggest difference. But like, I don't really do like tape stuff on the master anymore unless I somehow have made the mix like way too clean.
Yeah, I
You know what
don't
I mean?
do
Just gotta, like, grit it up a little bit.
The only thing I do is, so it's actually like one of the first steps I have. Everything goes into Ozone first, and all I'm running in Ozone is the EQ and then Exciter. And sometimes like I'll do like some other stuff in there because like Spectral Shaper is sick and stuff like that. But all I do is I put a band at somewhere, depending on the song, between like 60 and 100 hertz. And then I just use the triode distortion to like kind of
That's cool.
Clamp down on the low end, and that's literally it. And like that is like, for me, like it does everything that the tape emulations would do without affecting my high end. Because I hated how crunchy my high end would
with
get.
compression on the low end too. I have to like, I have to control. I used to like try to like multi-band control the whole mix, and then I realized that when I turned it off, it just felt better without it, but the low end felt weird, and now I just control the low end. And
I did that too for a while. I'd always run a multi-band, and then I would bypass it, and I'd be like, this sounds way better without it.
Yeah,
But,
like I felt like it was like kind of tucking everything in, like
Gotcha.
night, go sleep. But it was like actually like making everything sound soft.
And you're taking away a little bit of this transient detail. Yeah.
And I didn't like that. But dude, I just got NS10s.
Oh yeah, I saw your picture.
And dude, honestly, like I went back and like did some mix revisions on a couple songs with the NS10s, and they definitely do a thing. I don't know how to describe it, dude. They do a thing for sure.
Oh, they sound
like,
bad. They
the low
sound
end,
terrible.
Can I be honest and say that I think they sound cool?
No, they sound
Like,
cool, but they sound bad.
Like
like a cool
compared
bad.
to the Dutch and Dutches, they're way brighter in the mids. Like 3K and up, they're way brighter. There's a huge roll off in the low end, like at 100 hertz, it just rolls off.
Yeah,
But
it's gone.
That's kind of sick because with the Dutch and Dutches, I feel so much. And like what I think is like sounding really good is actually just super sub. And like you can't really hear it. But as soon as like you turn to the NS10s and you're like, oh, the bass, like I can't really tell the bass is there, or like, and the transient response on them is so crazy because like you can be like, oh, like the kick and the snare and the sub were hitting like real good on the Dutch and Dutches, but they don't hit on these. And then you go in and you adjust on these and like add some saturation or some transient, and then switch back to the Dutch and Dutches, and you're like, oh, this mix is fat. Like,
Yeah, well,
this
that was
sounds
always
great.
that was always like when you would send me a mix and you're like, what do you think? Like, how many times I tell you like your low end needs to be more distorted. You know?
Yeah, and it's not distorted. It's like it's just it was just super low, and like in the room, it's like whoa, like
yeah, there was just
it
way
sounds
too much sub.
good, but it's just mega low versus like the information needed to be like an octave higher.
Yeah. That's why everyone's like, you should probably get subs, and I'm like, I don't really think I need subs because like my low end always hits in the car. It always
feel
hits
like
on
it's-
headphones. I could hear all of my 808s on my phone.
Yeah.
Because these speakers, they're super bright. The mid range is decently scooped. The low end is just enough, but like it has that coming off the cone sound. Like I don't feel my low end, I just hear it. And like
I feel like
that's
it's
my
nice
only
to,
goal when
like,
mixing.
With the Dutch and Dutches, like have that super sub, like to do your initial mix, to like feel it and like have that super sub low, and
Bro,
then
it's
when
also
you go
so much
back
fun
to
when you're
without
producing.
it, it's different. It's just like it's like little adjustments.
Yeah, I feel like the NS10s are really for the deep dive, like
1000%,
super fine detail stuff. But like every time I've used NS10s, I've always, I mean, they say if you can make it sound good on NS10s, it'll sound incredible everywhere.
I could see that for sure. I could definitely see that. I haven't tried to do like a mix from scratch on them.
What are the low
I'm probably
mids
gonna
like
do
on
that
them?
today, but
Sick.
Are the low mids like the Amphions that we heard?
no.
I so that was one of the questions that I was going to ask you too, because you heard those 5-inch Amphions recently, and they're supposed to be like, that's the idea for them. I think is they're supposed to be like NS10 replacements.
They definitely are very similar.
They're more like an updated NS10.
Yeah,
But
so
that's supposed to be the idea.
the NS10s are way brighter than the Amphions, but I felt like the Amphions definitely have a lot more low mid stuff going on, but I don't know if the Amphions had the same transient detail that these have,
or the mid-range separation.
Yeah, the transient detail is like really gnarly on these because it's just two-way, and the Amphions have that weird thing on the back.
That port thing or whatever.
Yeah, it's just
No,
like a
Amphions aren't
separate.
ported.
It's
They're
like a
sealed.
separate woofer,
Oh, okay.
but I don't know if it has the same transient detail that these have. Like I feel like the Amphions ultimately probably are a better speaker for sure, but these are comparable. Like I would say these are 90% of what Amphion is, minus like some of the weird, like if you shifted 3 to 5K down to like 500 to 800, that's what an Amphion is on the NS.
Gotcha. That's, I mean, it seems like a lot of people have made such great records on those, not the Amphions, but the NS10 specifically, that like, to me, if it sounds, it's not about sounding good.
Yeah.
Like those kinds aren't about sounding good. Like they sound
They're not fun to listen to.
Yeah, they're not fun to listen to, but that's the point.
Yeah, because once you get them to where you're like, oh, like I can listen to this, you've gotten somewhere.
And then you switch it back to the other one, and you're like, the detail is just crazy.
Yeah. And
you
to
have
be
way more
honest,
separation, and
the stereo image on them is really cool. Like, I swear they I can tell panning way better, and I can tell reverb way better.
probably because they're not full frequency, so you're not having to deal with low end stereo stuff, which probably frees up your ears.
Well,
For
that's
sure.
because so the Dutch and Dutch are as far as I forget what the technical term is, but like if we're talking about like directivity, like
They're
the Dutch and
cardioid.
Dutch have the best response out of any speaker out right now, because like you're literally able to still place things depending on whether or not you're off axis, just because of like how the waveguide is. And so I think what you're hearing is actually the opposite of that.
Maybe that's what it is.
You're getting more separation because it's not as precise.
Yeah, but I like that. I like being able to tell, because like I like the Dutch and Dutches. They're dope. I've been able to do good mixes on them, but I'm not doing, now that these are up here, and I don't plan to keep these here. These are going to go to my house. But having both of them together, I feel like did that thing where I like felt like I leveled up like 10%.
Yeah, it's that one thing that you've been like searching for, to like, how can I make my mixes just that much better?
Yeah, and now what I want to do is try to find one speaker that does what both of them do, and honestly get rid of the probably get PMC 62s.
Yeah, so I was gonna say PMCs
Yeah.
sound or ATCs or something
or like a
that.
full range Amphion system.
Yeah,
Either of those three will probably do it for you.
Yeah.
I mean, even like the Neumanns would be able to do that. With
Because
subs.
I love the sub low end on these Dutch and Dutches, but just everything sounds so good. Like, you could put a super bad mix through it and still be able to like listen to it and bump it and think, oh, this sounds cool.
That's my
Unless
only
it's that
issue
new
with
Loathe
those.
record, because that sounds awful.
I haven't
Welcome to
listened
the
to
club.
it yet. Did it come out
Wait,
today?
And guess what? We're probably not
Yesterday.
going to listen to it.
No,
Dude,
we're probably
it
not.
sounds so
Load
bad.
sucks.
It's like it was the big. I posted earlier. I already had my biggest disappointment of 2022.
Came out the gate early.
It's awful. Yeah, dude.
I haven't
switched it to the
listened to
NS10s and I thought I was gonna bleed.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah,
Too much. Oh, especially in that like upper mid range area.
it's gross, dude. It's disgusting. It's the nastiest thing I've ever heard.
The I've toyed around with the idea of like, maybe I should just fully switch to NS10s and headphones.
What do you have now again?
They're HS7s. They're not anything crazy.
Oh, yeah. They're probably similar though, because the
Probably.
sevens are supposed to be the ones that sound the closest to NS10s.
Yeah.
But to be honest, dude, I feel like if you're toying with the idea of NS10s, you should maybe get like a 2.2 setup and literally get like an NS10 on each side and then 2 mono subwoofers and be able to turn them off.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I don't
Or
know
just
if my
get
room is big
Amphions.
enough to need a subwoofer.
Oh,
Because-
I forgot to say this earlier. I'm sorry. I just totally interrupted you.
You're good.
Problem with the 8Cs is that they're so good at picking up transient detail that like every like what you were saying, like everything sounds good on it. And I did, like my first time using those speakers, I remember I was like, man, these drums bump. And then I like came back here and I listened on my speakers and I was like, like not at all.
Yeah.
You know,
it's so
but, like,
weird because they're just they make everything sound good. So like
Well-
you're actively, when you're mixing on them, like it's easy to get everything in the pocket, but it's not easy to get everything sounding great.
Yeah, like I think that's why it's like those speakers are so popular with mastering engineers because you could hear everything on them,
Yeah.
and when you're mastering,
Yeah.
like you want to be able to hear everything. you
Yeah.
know?
Brandon
But, like,
switched to
if-
those and he said it's like 50x'd his mastering.
Yeah. And then I said that they're extremely hyped, and he was like, "No, they aren't." And I was like, "Yes, they are.
They definitely are.
Oh, they're hyped.
They're like the most.
Yeah.
They were one of the most hyped speakers that we listened to at Vintage King, besides the Ex Machinas.
Oh god, I couldn't deal with those.
Yeah.
The small ones were sick.
But
They're aight.
But yeah, so I had toyed around with the idea of maybe just going straight NS10s or going PMC Result 6s, because I don't need a huge speaker in my room.
I thought about Result 6s at my home studio too, but I don't know. Like
I've never heard them though. That's the
I haven't heard
problem.
them either, and that's how I feel about the 6.2s. Also, like I really want to try to get in touch with somebody to be like, hey, what can I do for you to like send me a pair of 6.2s for like 2 or 3 weeks, and me make sure that I really like them, and then literally throw these on, like throw the Dutch and Dutches on Reverb and sell them, and just keep the 6.2s or send them back, because I would hate to go listen to one. I don't know where to go listen to PMCs.
You can't do so. That's the thing.
They take them to your house.
You can't find them anywhere.
Yeah. So and I'm in Atlanta. I'm not in
Facebook?
LA. So like Spider's not gonna bring me a pair of 6.2s.
Yeah, but he might know somebody. Like they might have an Atlanta rep. I mean,
they might have a guy. Yeah, I would actually reach out. He would be the guy to know.
I did reach out to him and I haven't heard anything back, but I don't know what he's a busy man.
Yeah,
but I want to make sure that I like them before I like. I would hate to go through the hassle of selling these and then getting those and being like, ew.
And on top of that, I mean, that's the same thing for me. It's like, I want to make sure that they work. Not only do I like them, do they work for me? I would completely zero out a song and mix an entire, probably like 2 or 3 songs on them in that.
In 2 or 3 different genres.
Yeah, exactly. But then on top of that, I need to make sure that it works in this room specifically. Like I need to make
that's how I feel. I need to make sure that it sounds good in here.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
bro, I'll be honest. Like, if you're using HS7s, like you could get literally anything, and you'll be like, "Oh yeah, this is an improvement." You know what I mean?
I mean, I know, but
so it's like,
the thing is, I want to get the right thing. Like, I don't want to go
for sure
speaker hunting.
Yeah, honestly, I think that the Result 6s
want.
might be a little bit too hi-fi sounding for you. I would probably check into like the Shape Twins because you get extra headroom, and then like with the EQ built into them, like these are actually really flat whenever I don't have my high end maxed out. And because like what I like about like the HS series is like you could tell when your low end's right whenever like you could hear it.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of how these are. Except for me, it's whenever I could either feel my low end or like it really sounds like the song's bumping, then I know it's too much.
Unless you're on HS8s and then you have no idea what your mids sound like.
I hated the HS8s when I was on them at a different place. I could not mix on them to save my life.
No, they have a transient limiter on them.
I know. Dude, everything sounded so distorted in such a bad way.
Dude, when I used to mix on HS8s, I would go out to my car and be like, why is the snare literally attacking me now?
Yeah.
Dude, that's how it was for my Dyne audios, and that's how it also was for like the JBLs I started on. I
started on JBLs and then went to Dyne audios too.
Wait, what'd you say?
I started on JBLs, the LSR 305s, I think.
I had the 308s.
Yeah, and then I went to HS8s and then Dyne Audio BMX 5s with a sub.
I had the OID 7s and those speakers sucked. And then
I liked them more than the HS8s.
No, the thing is, my HS7s, I'm just so used to them at this point. It's like,
I mean, that happens, yeah.
Well, and so that's the other problem is that if I am gonna switch, like I want to make sure that I like them, I can mix well on them kind of from the get, but they're also going to level me up enough, especially if they're like 3,000 per speaker.
Yeah.
Speakers.
For sure.
Like I want to make sure that they're good.
You live close enough to Nashville where you should just go to Vintage King.
I've gone before. They didn't have Amphions last time because that was my other option. I think
they had them when I went there 6 months ago.
Okay, cool. Because we went with Bowman because he was looking for Amphions, and I think he ended up going with Barefoots because that's what they had, and he didn't have exactly, and he didn't have any. They didn't have any Amphions. They didn't have a whole lot, but he needed new speakers because he had just blown, I think. Yeah. So he went with Barefoots because they were the closest thing that he had to whatever he had before. But yeah, they didn't. I want to try some top end Amphions, but Corey loves his, and his mixes really leveled up whenever he got his, as far as like his detail.
The Amphions are great, dude. If I had enough money to buy them, I would have.
That's the other problem.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, as I get more mixing work, like, that's the goal. Is I just want to get a set of small Amphions, and I'm gonna mix on them, and then make sure they bump on my Focals, and then just go from there. Because, like, honestly, these speakers, I think that they're fantastic. I hate that they don't have a ton of headroom, but they have more headroom than the single driver shapes. But yeah, like, Vintage King really taught me a lot just listening from each speaker. Like, the only two speakers that actually made sense with my ears were the Focal Trio 6s and then the tiny Amphions, and like that's it. Like,
I need to go to Vintage King in Nashville again and do some A/B testing.
And then you'll also be able to tell how weird and bad Barefoots are.
They're so bad. Every single one of them is awful. They're
literally
awful.
We listened to 3 different sets of Barefoots, and every single time we were just like, next.
Yeah.
Even okay, so like Justin was with us, and Justin doesn't know anything about audio.
Nothing. He was just like, why do those sound bad?
He shows up, he drinks margaritas, and then he sings. That's his job. And he was literally standing there. He goes, ew, why do they sound like that? A guy who doesn't even work on music.
That's so funny.
Literally was like, ew. Like,
yeah, dude. They're bad.
It was actually really cool having him there, because it was interesting, like, hearing like what he listens to.
Just like raw takes from him who doesn't know anything about audio. Yeah,
it was pretty cool, because like it's funny, like, people gravitate towards like basically the same thing, whether you know a lot or you know a little. But it was especially funny for him whenever he was like, ew.
That's
because the Barefoots just sounded terrible. Like, compared
you really
to
have those
ATs.
like. You really do. You have like the client pleasing speakers, and then you have this like the microsurgery speaker.
And there's
Barefoot,
like
there's
tries
a bunch,
to beat all
there's
of
like,
them.
Yeah, you got like you have like your Dutch and Dutch, and like maybe kind of Barefoot.
I would consider Barefoot a client pleasing speaker.
And then you have like your NS10 Amphion, and then there's a bunch of speakers that are in between, and it's pretty. Like, I feel like in a professional environment, you got to have one and you got to have the other. Like, you got to have both. Because they're if you get one in the middle, you're going to feel like, oh man, like this is missing this, or your people that are going to come to work are going to like leave and be like, I can't tell if that sounded good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Questioning
What's funny about that is for me, almost all of the Focals, besides maybe the SM9s, are very much somewhere in between, because the high end is extremely revealing and like almost hard to listen to. Like on the trios, that upgraded tweeter, man, I don't think I really like it.
The
that
beryllium
much. Like,
one, yeah, I worked on
my
the Trio
favorite mixes sounded
before.
bad.
Yeah, or I worked on the Focal Twin 6 BEs, and I did not like it.
No, those things suck. But the trios are tight. And like they're kind of like that, where they have that weird like almost boxy low end to them, but then they're scooped, and then they're also really bright. Like it doesn't make sense, but like that's just
kind of
how
like
I like my
the
speakers.
ATCs, where I felt like the ATCs were like they almost sounded like a more like low end heavy NS10.
I love
that's really
the
cool.
ATCs.
I mean, that's what Seth's on, right?
No, not yet, but he will be. But,
He's about to be.
But they are cool.
From what everybody told me, they were all like, you would hate ATCs and you would hate Neumanns. The ATCs, I listened to them and I was like, yo, I would love to mix on these. I love how soft those cones are. Like, you can hear the transients in a different way, which is really, really cool.
That is cool.
And then the Neumanns were sick because
The
they were
Neumanns
just like,
sounded like
they were just kind of boring, but
they were the less cool version of the ATCs.
yeah, like if I got those, I know I wouldn't mix a bad song on them.
Yeah,
you know,
Drew, you might actually really like either the
Neumanns?
Neumanns or the ATCs.
Yeah,
so
you probably would.
They were also, both of those were also on my list. I think the key that I'm trying to think of, and this actually ties into trying to do like a home setup conversation, is like thinking in terms of like a studio room, like where you're at right now, is a lot different than thinking of a room like this that I'm in right now, and like what you're trying to build at your house.
You have the room where it's like, I'm the only person that's gonna be in here. Like, I don't need a couch behind me. I don't need like multiple chairs in here. Like, I'm the only person that's going to be in here, and it's for me to work. And then in this room, it's like I have the couch, I have 3 chairs, and I have people in that want me to turn the song up so they can write to it. And like, there's a big difference between those two things, and the tools that are needed for those two things are totally different. Like, here I have like a full Apollo setup. Works great for tracking in the live room, tracking stuff, like it works great. But ultimately, like if I was in a mixing room, like my plan is to get that RME ADI2 Pro that's like the best DAC that exists.
Oh yeah.
Because I just want to be able to hear my speakers the best that they can sound.
Well, I tore myself apart when I was trying to figure out what interface I was going to go to next. And I went with the Apollo because I do tracking here.
Yeah.
But I almost went full antelope.
Yeah. I don't think there's a difference between antelope and Apollo.
I've heard that. So every time I've used an antelope system, I do feel like there's like a small difference.
Well, when you're
It's
talking
negligible
about
at best.
this level,
Maybe
like
on
it's
the
all
way-
very small.
It's
What?
it's a top end thing.
Like
Yeah.
well, that's the thing. Whenever you're at that price point, like it's all very small differences.
Yeah, it's
You're
negligible.
talking like 2 to 5% on everything.
Like-
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
the difference
but
between-
I just feel like the separation was a little better with the antelopes than they are with the Apollos.
Yeah.
In the times that I've used them, but it's so negligible that I was like, I need the tracking capability from the Apollo more than I don't need it.
For sure. And just like the whole plugin like ecosystem and everything is really great on the Apollo compared to other ones. I mean, I feel like another one of these graphs, you know what I mean? Like you have like your Apollo and your Antelope live right here. If we're talking like high end,
Yeah.
like conversion.
Yep.
Like you have the low end of high end conversion is Apollo and Antelope.
Yep.
And then Apogee.
Yep.
And then you have Lynx
Yep.
and RME.
Yep.
And then you have Lavery and like Prism.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You're talking like multi-$1,000 like
Yeah.
setups for 2 channels.
Yeah. And that shit's unnecessary.
Yeah.
Unless you're a mastering engineer.
Yeah, but that's where like most of the
But
Link stuff
really,
is like
in
mastering
between
engineers.
there, in between there though is still like this whole range like is only a 2 to 5% difference really. Like when it comes down to it, like maybe the difference between an Apollo and a Lavery might be 10%. You know,
But the price difference is like
is not 10%.
500% price difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing is there's so many different like ecosystems now. Like I don't know how I would be able to be as fast on Pro Tools if I was recording vocals in Pro Tools, but their carbon system is almost undeniable.
The carbon thing I think is right there with in the middle with Apogee and like
it is.
RME.
Yeah,
Because Apogee converters truly sound better than the Apollo and the Antelope
100%.
converters.
So you met
and so
Shane.
like
So Shane uses a full Pro Tools rig
Yeah.
for his setup, and I think he had talked about maybe switching over to the carbon setup because he uses a card right now.
Yeah.
Dude,
Carbon is sick. Like their converters are really good. Like those devices are sick.
dope.
Justin just came in and stared at me through the window and he's smiling and waving at me.
That's
I'm
funny.
on a podcast.
Tell Justin I said hey.
I'll see you in a minute. No. You can't come in. No.
Hi Justin, we love
The
you.
door's locked.
Doors locked. But no, so like that on the conversion side is very similar to like the conversation that we're having with like the speaker side of things, right? So it's one of those things where I don't need really, I think an 8-inch speaker is probably going to be too much.
I could see that. Somewhere between
Like a 6.5 is kind of like the sweet spot in like square mid-sized room, like smallish mid-sized rooms.
if it has, I could totally see that. I think that like, I think you just need to try, because I used to work out of a really small room, like for a long time, and still wished that I was missing low end. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But I feel like that also comes down to like how you have your room set up.
Yeah, that's
You know
what I was
what I
gonna
mean?
say. I feel like room tuning can fix some of that too.
Yeah, dude, I stopped using room tuning software.
Well, not software.
but-
I'm talking
but
like
yeah, like
physical
room adjustment.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, just put your speakers next to the wall.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
there's
and
your
like
low
that's
end.
the other reason I'm thinking about PMCs, because they're made to go against the wall.
Yeah.
Like the way that they're made is literally everything's front facing. That like
Yep.
subwoofer like aerodynamic thing that
Yeah,
they have on the wall.
the ATL thing.
Yeah, that thing, like it's made to be fully pressed up against the wall. And
Well,
Yep.
so is any ported speaker technically.
but I mean,
You know
like
what I mean?
specifically
Or, not
PMCs,
ported, any sealed speaker.
any sealed speaker.
You know,
Yeah.
But I'm saying
PMCs are just
specifically
different
PMCs
because-
were made for like that motion of being pushed up against the
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah, well, that's like the biggest issue with Barefoots is whenever they have those side firing woofers, it just unlocks a world of awful
Problems.
modes, and then
Yeah.
you're never able to do anything. Every single time I've heard Barefoots, I was like, "Yo, these are sick," and then the person goes, "Oh yeah, but I'm running SonarWorks," and then they take it off, and I'm like, "Oh my god, what's up with that low end?"
The cone
Yeah.
filtering
You know?
is crazy on
It's
Barefoots.
because it's throwing your
Bro.
low end all out of phase.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like
it's
no
stupid.
matter what.
And that's why PMCs are so good, is because of the whole active transmission line thing. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then that's why like a lot of people love brands like ATC or Amphion. It's because they're sealed. Like technically my speakers are sealed, even though they have like the little radiators on the side. That's to help compensate for the pressure inside of the speaker.
Yeah.
So in here, like my last speakers were ported. Every single room I went to, I couldn't tell what was going on. It even had a setting for up against the wall, even though they were ported. It sounded
Yeah.
terrible. These, all I do is any room I'm in, I just put them up against the wall and then it sounds perfect.
Yeah.
You know, even
That's-
whenever I was in that concrete, trashy room that I tried to rent out for a little
Yeah.
bit, like I was able to mix in there. And mind you, this room was super, super loud because of it, like it was literally a concrete floor and then just like drywall all around me. There was
Nightmare.
nothing in there to absorb anything. But even
Also,
before I
I
put
will
treatment
say-
in there, it sounded better.
The my old A7Xs are still like some of my favorite speakers.
So I've heard, so speaking of YouTube, there's a YouTube guy who his name's Sanjay. He does like a bunch of like gear. He does like, it's actually really cool. It's how I stay up on gear news. He does a gear news Saturday where he like basically does highlights from across the music industry of like studio gear and stuff.
Yeah.
And he did this thing where he mixed the same song on 5 different pairs of speakers and then just like raw bounced them and then like played them side by side. And I was like, that's a really interesting experiment, just
Yeah.
kind of in general.
It is.
And I found myself really liking the Neumanns and the A7Xs.
Dude, I loved the A7Xs. Like the only thing that makes sense, like made sense for me to upgrade from them was to something like gnarly. Because like I don't know, they still, if all of my stuff broke and I put the A7Xs in, it would be fine.
Matt
Like,
Rad said the same thing about his A7Xs.
yeah, it would be fine.
Because like he went from I think he was still running the A7Xs before he got the PMCs, because he had that big crazy, I forget the brand of those speakers, like the main systems.
Yeah.
Asperger's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's like
yeah.
huge things. The
Yeah, so I
ones.
believe he still was running A7Xs at that time, and then he sold everything and then just got the PMCs,
Which
and-
PMCs are he using?
the 228s.
The
And
228s?
then
Okay.
He even said that like, yeah, like I love my A7Xs. Like if I had them right now, I wouldn't even be upset, you know?
Yeah.
Which kind
They're
of says
great.
a lot, you know?
How's the
They're great.
transient detail on those and also the ATCs, since you guys heard those recently?
I think the ATCs were pretty great when it came to transient detail.
It's a different kind of transient detail.
The A7Xs are boomy at like 180, pretty much.
Okay.
Like 180, there's a lot of thump.
Yeah.
So that's like kick, like bass thump, like bass guitar kind of weird resonance frequencies.
Yeah, and like low snare, like snare thump. There's lots of snare thump in them.
Also,
Gotcha.
with the ATCs, like, we're talking about 3 really soft speakers, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So the ATC's like, it's almost like you can actually hear that speaker hitting. Like whenever I heard the kick hit, it's almost like I heard the speaker
Move
itself, you know?
Yeah.
Well, like
that's how these
something like
NS10s are.
yeah, well, something like, you know, your 8Cs or like my Focals, like they're such rigid speakers that those transients are different. Like I learned I really like rigid speakers.
Yeah.
Same.
I'm thinking about a lot this year because my 2 major purchases this year that I want to get are a new set of speakers and I need to get a new laptop.
Mm-hmm. Get an M1 Max.
Dude, that's what I'm doing.
Yep.
Well, I think I'm doing M1 Pro, but I'm doing the 14-inch M1 Max, but like the lower tier M1 Max.
I would suggest
just do it so you can get the
16-inch.
For fan reasons?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Because I got the 16-inch M1 Max and already like running Rosetta and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. It runs exactly the same as my 2019 Mac Pro.
That's
like
crazy.
It runs all of my sessions exactly the same. No stutters, nothing. And I'm imagining once everything's optimized for it, it's going to like murder that computer. And it's also a fourth of the price.
Yeah, I watched a video of somebody doing a test on it was the maxed out one. It's this lo-fi producer named Eldre, who's a YouTuber. He did a test where he was screen capping. He was running. He uses Ableton, so his like buffer size was like 128. I want to say. And he was screen capping. He was running his full master chain at 128 buffer size, and he was streaming to Twitch at the same time.
Yeah, it's
like
gnarly,
running OBS
dude.
and all of that, and like the fan didn't even come on.
Yeah, even like, dude, my computer doesn't get hot. Like, and just it's insane. I know that in the future it's literally gonna like be the craziest thing I've ever experienced.
Yeah, so I know I'm gonna get that computer. It's while I'm figuring out my speakers is the main thing. The computer's gonna come first for sure, but the speakers are gonna be like hopefully a back half of the year purchase. So I want to try and figure out and go hear as much as I can.
You should, for sure. You should definitely like set up an appointment with Vintage King at Nashville, and even if you have the time, go to the one in LA because they have more.
Yeah, I was thinking about because you guys went without me.
Sorry.
I couldn't have gone anyway.
My bad, dude.
It's okay. I couldn't have gone anyway. I didn't have the money for it. So I ain't got some plane ticket money, dude.
I mean, it was the trip was cool, I guess.
Yeah. The trip was cool, I guess. I want to go out at some point this year. I got friends out there I need to visit anyway. So barring the world doesn't re-shut down, I'm gonna try to make a plan to go out there.
That's so annoying.
At some point this year. So I know Josh is trying to make plans to go out there again too. So maybe we'll just go together.
There you go. Y'all can hug.
The whole way. On the plane and everything. I
mean, on these flights now with them so cramped, you basically don't have a choice but to hug each other anyway. So.
Bro, I lucked out. All my flights were so spacious.
Really?
Or what?
They were so spacious, dude.
Dude, every flight I've been on has been full.
I had the middle seat free. I had the 2 seats next to me free. On the way down to Atlanta, it was pretty rough because it was a Boeing. But then on the way back, I had an Airbus. I was all sprawled out, dude.
Nice.
Dude.
I think for the future, I'm always going to buy Delta Comfort Plus because it's like $30,
so
$40 more. And I feel like it's worth it.
It's super worth it. Because I fly like mainly Delta, and I flew to Germany, and I didn't get Comfort Plus, and that was a mistake.
Oh, I would die.
It was a mistake. It was a direct flight.
I would die, dude. Even just coming back from Portland, it was like a 5-hour flight, and I was so cramped. I was like, dude, I swear, like, I was thinking, like, what if I went like on a longer than 5-hour flight?
So think about this. It was 8 hours there. It was 10 hours back.
Ooh.
Because like the wind is like against you
Yeah.
that direction.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it adds 2 hours to go from Dusseldorf back to Atlanta. It's a long flight to be
No,
cramped.
thank you.
To be cramped like that around a bunch of sweaty band dudes.
Oh God, dude. Yeah, I will be definitely purchasing at least Comfort Plus.
Yes,
for
definitely.
every flight in the future.
Big suggest. Please,
Yeah.
definitely do it.
That 5 inches of leg room sounds like a lifesaver.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially when you're trying to nap.
Yeah, I tried. We took a red eye back, and I tried to sleep, and I literally couldn't.
Yeah, it was
awful.
basically a 24-hour flight for me to fly back.
Ugh,
It was ridiculous.
awful.
It's very valid.
So what? As we're coming to a close,
Yeah.
what's something that you're stoked on right now?
Oh, I'm stoked to be working with other artists. I'm honestly stoked to be doing YouTube stuff because I think it's going to be pretty fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really stoked to like start working out of my house. I know it sounds like ridiculous. It sounds like opposite of what most people want to do. Like, but I just really want to like be able to like decide, hey, like I don't really have anything crazy going on today, so I'm gonna just take my hard drive home and work at home on my own pace and like be a hermit and not have to talk to anybody.
Yeah, dude, it's really nice. I did that today, and like I woke up. So we wake up, we get the baby up, and like, you know, Erin took the baby with her and drops him off with her mom on Fridays, and then so when I was here by myself at like 8 o'clock, from 8 to 10, I was just chilling. I did about
Nice.
2 hours of like video editing this morning and like podcast stuff and preparation stuff. And then I took a lunch break and watched Cowboy Bebop for like an hour.
Yeah, dude. Sounds great.
It was great. It was fantastic. And then like I came back and got a little bit more stuff. I'm still in my freaking sweatpants.
Yeah, I just like I want to just, one of my goals for this year is to just really figure out how to like step myself into just mixing way more. So that's like what I'm putting all of my eggs into right now. Like,
Well, it also kind of sounds like you want to make your life a lot less stressful and going so much.
well, yeah, and I also want to feel like I'm like actually moving somewhere, because like I do a lot of stuff for Teddy, but like with the way that the label is and stuff, like I kind of feel like really stagnant in my career because I can mix all these live things and I can, but that's like not why I'm here. I'm not here to like mix live stuff. I'm here to like do songs with Jayton
and mix records.
Yeah, and at least mix those songs, and I don't really even get that opportunity because of the A&Rs and stuff. So if I can't be given that, I'm gonna just like make that path for myself.
Yeah, dude. Go
You
for
know?
it, dude. I'm such on the same vibe with you on when it comes to that. I
Yeah.
mean, Josh is too. It's a situation of like, if no one else is gonna give us the opportunity, we're just gonna make the opportunity happen for ourselves.
Yeah, because what am I supposed to do? Just like sit here and be like, oh man, like eventually. Like, no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Like, why would you do? That's counterproductive.
Yeah, I'm also like
Also, that's how you get depressed.
Yeah, I'm not getting any younger either, and I'm not like, I felt like for a while like my career was like doing this, and now I feel like it's just like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's just not a
Plateaued.
good feel. It's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
Also, like in the future, like what if I like want to just like up and move to a different city? Like I kind of like don't really like work with artists all the time like I used to, and I don't like really want to start working with artists like producing and engineering. But if I'm just mixing, like I could literally just up and move to Japan if I wanted to,
Bro,
You know what I
especially
mean?
if you got like, if you got a dope room to check some stuff on like once a week, and you just mix on
Yeah.
headphones and you do like mix tweaks at a room once a week, like you're low overhead too.
Yeah, it's like super simple. That's all I really want to do is just mix, because that's the one thing that like I enjoy doing more than anything.
Yeah. Dude, Lee, thanks for coming for a part 2, man.
Thanks, dude. Absolutely. It was
Yeah.
fun.
I know,
I'm
it's
always
always
down.
fun to like just come and
Yeah.
chat and like hang out, and
It's
you know,
weird that we're doing this like all formal and stuff because like we're like friends.
I
You
know,
we, like,
but
hang
yeah,
out.
it's part of it. Yeah,
like-
you know, whatever.
I see Josh on FaceTime daily taking a poop. So
We don't talk enough because
Bro, that snap I sent earlier was wild.
I haven't seen it yet because I was eating lunch. I don't know what I was going to get into.
That's
thing you
fair
waited.
though. That's fair though. Yeah, dude, thanks for coming and hanging out.
Absolutely.
We're gonna put hourglassroom.com below. We're gonna put your
Sick.
YouTube stuff below and all your stuff, all your
All the
videos
things.
and all
Thanks,
your
dude.
things, and yeah, we'll link you up. But dude, thanks
Sick.
for coming and hanging out, and thank you for listening, listener, and we'll see you later.
Later.
Bye.